What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Steven Ostentoski here of Maize n Brew. Really busy National Signing Day for the University of Michigan. They turned in 20 guys they signed today, top 10 class as of today. Three things here before I get into this video. Number one, comment below on your grade that you would give Michigan for this class of 2021 they have signed thus far. Number two, I'm going to be doing some short videos breaking down every single signed player. Hopefully get that going in the next couple of days, so definitely stay tuned there. Number three, like and subscribe this video. The more love I get in this video, the more effort I'll put into those individual analysis videos. Let's get into the analysis here. All right, so looking at the signed players here, 20 out of the 20 commits that Michigan has are signed, sealed, and delivered. Obviously, Michigan is still looking to add certain players in different positions. We'll get to that. But the main recruits on board that are committed to Michigan are also signed, so that's a great sign as well. I'll put a huge list of all of these guys on your screen, flood your screen. Let's look at some positives for the day. So, number one, the top guy on the board, J.J. McCarthy, never wavered with his commitment. Most important recruit in the class. I argue that he's the most important recruit of Harbaugh's career. Obviously, he's a five-star, number 22 overall, number 2 quarterback in the class of 2021. Not just the talent that is the importance for me, it's how we banded this group together of this 2021 class, especially offensively, and it was built around kind of collectively building something special at Michigan as a unit. Really just more powerful coming from a fellow recruit, especially one of his talent level, to be leading that charge than any coach can bring to the table there in a recruiting pitch, right? Having a recruit going to other recruits saying that means a lot. And that's something that J.J. McCarthy really took upon himself, and he should be pretty proud of what he did. And none more than Donovan Edwards, the in-state running back, top 50 overall, 4-star. Just a scary sight. He's very versatile. He can be lined up out wide. He can catch. He's just a really solid all-around back. He's going to be adding depth to a position that I thought was already really stacked this year, and it's going to be a really solid running back room with him in the fold as well. He chose Michigan over Notre Dame and Georgia primarily, so keeping him in state, West Bloomfield, keeping him here is just really huge. Another big storyline of the day was Xavier Worthy. This is a guy, high 4-star, 76 overall wide receiver, just a speedster, 10.55 in 100 meters. He was a guy that Alabama was really pushing hard for. It was a legit Bama offer as well. He committed to Michigan a while ago, stuck with his commitment, signed today. And Michigan, you could argue, has the fastest wide receiver core in 2021. Rowan Wilson there, A.J. Henning there. It's just a really scary athletic group overall. Couple defensive guys that signed today as well. Junior Colson, he's 4-star, top 100 outside linebacker. Some smoke about Ole Miss poking around late here, but he's a riser in the class overall. Keeping him on board is huge. He brings just a ton of athleticism to that position group. And then Jaden Hood, this was another surprise guy to sign today. He's a 4-star, top 250 inside linebacker. Guy Maryland was pushing late on. A guy who was looking to push his decision later. He wanted to get to Michigan to visit before signing. He was also in a deep playoff run with his high school team. He ultimately decided, you know what, I'm just going to sign today, and it's great to get him in the fold. Only 7 guys in this class who have signed are defensive players, and he's a really good one of those to have signed already. Next one would be Jaden McBurrows. This is a big storyline. He's the only cornerback of the class. So despite being a 3-star, lower on that list of guys rankings-wise, I can't stress enough how important getting cornerbacks on this roster are, and I think he is a pretty underrated player with that ranking, especially with Sierra Wright and Omarion Cooper. These were guys committed to USC and Florida State, respectively. Those guys are not likely to go anywhere else. Cooper signed today. Sierra Wright's likely to stay with USC. He's announcing on January 2nd. But with those things in mind, it's really important to keep your only cornerback committed and signed to your program. And that's exactly what Jaden McBurrows did, which is awesome for Michigan. And then just overall, like the final positive, offensively, it's an extremely talented class, right? 4 top 100 recruits. Every offensive recruit is signed. That's great. No flips for any of the guys, and Michigan won both battles on offense that they really needed to, in my opinion, in both Xavier Worthy and Donovan Edwards. So just really good from the offensive side. All right, not everything was great. Most things were good, but let's move to the negative side, okay? Only, like I said, only 7 signed defensive players here. There were 2 flips. So there's Brandon Jennings. He was a 4-star linebacker out of Florida. He was originally flipped to Michigan from Florida State, decided to go to Maryland, of all places, which Maryland sneakily put together the number 4 class in the Big Ten, ahead of Penn State at number 5. So watch out for Maryland. The Terrapins are making some moves there. And then the other one, Quentin Somerville, 4-star strong side defensive end out of Scottsdale, Arizona. This one hurts a little bit more. He was the one defensive tackle or defensive end commit that would likely have projected for the inside. Now there's only 3 defensive end types for Michigan signed in this 2021 class. No true defensive tackles. While I generally like those defensive end type guys, none of them are going to be interior guys. So you're really missing that, and that's a yearly problem now. Going back to last year as well, just a lack of depth at interior defensive line is becoming a huge issue. So he was a Sean Nua guy through and through, so there can be some speculation there. Both those guys, Jennings and Somerville, they were falling in the rankings a bit. They were top 100 guys falling outside the top 200, but still, depth at defensive line especially is looking thin. So Somerville was a guy that Michigan, in my opinion, really should have pushed hard to stick on, but we'll see. So, and then the other negatives I would say would be both Sierra Wright and Omarion Cooper, right? I mentioned they're both 4-star cornerbacks. A couple guys that Michigan really could have used at the cornerback position in this class. It's just tough, right? With only one guy, Jay McBurrows, again, I like his play, but you need a couple more cornerbacks just with what the position has been looking like. You need more bodies there to compete and really show out and shore up that position in the future. Next thing I'll talk about here, staffing changes. All right, so may be able to deduce some staffing changes from the social media presence. And I want to reiterate, you can only read so much into Twitter, but let's show up this tweet from Scott Bell here. So some of these guys, some of the coaches are not very active social media guys in general, right? Mike Zordich especially, who's not a big recruiting guy. So today probably wasn't on his radar too much, but I don't think there's any coincidence that you're seeing a lack of certain defensive coaches on this not tweeting list, right? Something to pay attention to moving forward, where you have some of these offensive guys, Ed Warner, Josh Gaddis, these guys tweeting out the celebration of these guys committing, but there's some absences from that defensive side that I think are worth noting on some possible moves for Michigan in relation to their assistant coaches moving forward. And then some things to keep an eye on here. So Rashawn Benny, 4-star top 200 defensive tackle out of Oak Park, committed to Michigan State over Michigan. He did not sign today. So watch for Michigan to put a full court press on him to try to get that flip. Number 2 here, defensive tackle recruiting. So that goes along with the Benny point. I would still like to see them get 1, even 2 true defensive tackles in this class. So I would expect at least an offer or 2 elsewhere, or they'll hit the transfer portal really hard. But obviously I mentioned depth extremely worrying at that position in general. Number 3 here, cornerback recruiting. So I talked about the guys that Michigan fell short on. McBurrows, his importance can't be stated enough. I'd expect them to, again, offer probably 1 other guy to shore up this 2021 class. And then finally, transfer portal. So that goes mainly for defensive tackle and cornerback, but with the new rules allowing for a free transfer for players without needing waiver for immediate eligibility, that's going to be huge. I think you're going to see a lot of bodies in the portal here going into early 2021. So look for Michigan to really keep an eye on that to try to fill those gaps. Okay, so final thoughts here. The inaction for Michigan on the contract situation with Harbaugh, I think that definitely cost them a few recruits. No excuse on that. I had a previous video, I'll link in the description, talking about that contract situation. It should have been solved last offseason, frankly, not this one. I think you're seeing a couple of results, especially on the defensive side, go elsewhere because of that. With that being said, it's still a really, really good offensive recruiting class. Again, I mentioned everything McCarthy did. He was lights out in banding this group together. Give the staff some credit, right, for building their class around that concept of building something together to improve the situation in Michigan, right? They really did well in preaching that to the recruits and reiterating that amongst those relationships. And those relationships amongst the recruits proved to be extremely valuable. And Michigan really leaned on the right guys to lead that initiative. There's still work to do on the defense, right? So I really like the linebackers in this class, and even going back to the 2020 class. But there's just lots of work to do at cornerback and defensive tackle specifically. So with that being said, I'm going to have player breakdowns soon. So keep an eye on this channel, like and subscribe to show your support. The more you do, more time I put into this. So I appreciate all your support thus far. Besides that, guys, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. And as always, go blue.